On this stage of the world economy, China is quickly ousting the United States. The US economy has deteriorated and fallen since the global financial crisis, whereas the Chinese economy has exploded, achieving yearly economic growth that some refer to as a miracle. Most nations in the world now view the Eastern superpower as their main trading partner. It currently holds a prominent position in global supply chains, produces more goods, cars, and technology than the US does. China exports far more items to the United States each year than the United States does to China. In fact, our trade imbalance with China has overtaken all previous trade deficits between countries in the world's history. In addition to all of that, China has already amassed more than $1 trillion in reserves of US national debt. And China steals tens of thousands of our jobs every year. In other words, if the world economy were a game, China would be leading and America would be losing horribly. If you do not believe that China is wiping the floor with America in the front of the rest of the world, keep tuned with us to discover some mind-blowing stats about the rise of the Chinese economy and the downfall of the US economy in the global market. But before checking this list, welcome to 360 Economist YouTube channel. Please support us by leaving a thumbs up and subscribing to our channel so you don't miss our future videos. Without further ado, here are 30 signs that China is absolutely destroying America. 1. The average spending power of Chinese consumers is 1.18 times more than that of US consumers, according to IMF data. 2. China surpassed the United States as the world's top producer in 2019, according to the IMF's Purchasing Power Parity Measure, which accounts for the impact of exchange rates and its best way for comparing gross domestic product by nation. The US economy only produced $20.5 trillion, compared to China's $22.5 trillion. 3. According to Global Bank figures, the Chinese GDP is approaching the US GDP with each passing year. China's GDP in 1960 was equivalent to 13% of the US GDP. By 2021, that percentage shot up to 73% of a five-fold rise. 4. The US maximum GDP growth rate over the same period was 7.24%, compared to China's maximum GDP growth rate of 19.3% since 1970. In the US, the GDP growth rate was negative for 8 years. China, on the other hand, only displayed negative growth for 4 years. 5. China is ahead of the US in the agricultural and industrial sectors, according to data from the World Factbook. Only 17.58% of China's agricultural output and 77.58% of its industrial output is produced in the United States. 6. After China joined the WTO in 2001, its economy grew at a rate of 10% annually for 10 years, while the US share of the global economy decreased by nearly half to 22% during that time. 7. The World Economic Order has been redefined as a result of China's persistent miracle economic growth over the past 4 decades, at an average rate 4 times that of the US. 8. Since the 2008 financial crisis, China has displayed the US as the main driver of global economic development, accounting for 1/3 of all GDP growth. 9. China has surpassed the United States in the past 2 decades to become the world's leading manufacturer. 10. In 2001, the year China entered the World Commerce Organization, more than 80% of countries had greater trade with the United States than with China. By 2018, that number had dropped to 30%, with 2/3 of all countries, or 128 out of 190, trading more with China than with the United States. 11. Equally significant, 90 nations traded with China more than twice as much as they did with the United States. 12. China refines 60% of the world's lithium, 80% of the world's cobalt and mines, 68% of the world's graphite, the 3 main components of high-capacity batteries, according to the Department of Energy. Additionally, China owns over 90% of the world's supply of rare earth elements. 13. China has been the most crucial link in the world's vital global supply networks during the past 20 years. 14. For the first time on Fortune's Global 500, China overtook the US in 2020 as the country with the greatest concentration of the world's most valuable companies. China has also surpassed the US as the top destination for foreign investment. 15. China is now the world's top exporter, surpassing the US, which dropped to 3rd position in 2020. China shipped $2.5 trillion worth of goods. The EU came in 2nd with $2.3 trillion, and the US came in 3rd with $1.7 trillion. 16. Jim O'Neill, head economist of Goldman Sachs, predicts that China will surpass the United States as the world's largest economy by 2027. 17. China sent items to the US for $461.7 billion in 2021, whereas the US only exported $106.5 billion to China, resulting in a $355 billion trade deficit between the 2 countries. 18. Conversely, the United States is the largest spender in the world, while China is the 3rd largest importer in the world. It purchased $2.1 trillion worth of foreign goods in 2018. 19. China pegs its currency to the US dollar, making it the 2nd largest foreign holder of US treasuries as of August 2020. However, China's position as America's largest banker gives it enormous leverage. For example, China can devalue its currency when necessary to keep its export prices competitive. And whenever the US pressures it to raise the won's value, China threatens to do so. 20. China's global trade surplus increased significantly from 2020 to 2021, reaching the biggest level ever for any country as exports increased by 29.9% over the previous year, despite semiconductor shortages that disrupted manufacturing. 21. China's high-tech exports are more than twice as large as the United States' high-tech exports, which account for only 10% of global high-tech exports in 2021. In 1998, the United States held 25% of the global high-tech export market. 22. Currently, more than 90% of all computers are made in China. 23. On the other hand, since 2001, 34 of all high-tech manufacturing jobs in America have been lost. 24. Over 21 million vehicles are produced in China, which is their greatest producer in the world. The United States is the second largest car producer in the world, producing 4.36 million commercial vehicles and 2.5 million cars in 2020, trailing only China's production of 8.37 million commercial vehicles and 2.5 million cars. 25. The United States has lost 3.7 million industrial jobs to China since the turn of the century. 26. In the year 2000, manufacturing occupations made up over 20% of all jobs in America. Today, manufacturing jobs make up only approximately 5% of all jobs in America. 27. According to forecasts made public by the Economic Policy Institute, China will steal 500,000 American jobs this year. 28. According to the PEW Research Center's classification of income levels, China's middle class has experienced some of the fastest growth worldwide, increasing from 39.1 million people, or about 3.1% of the population in 2000, to roughly 707 million, or about 50.8% of the population in 2020. This translates to an increase of 667.9 million, or 47.8 percentage points. 29. The percentage of American adults who live in the medium-income homes has declined from 61% in 1971 to 47% in 2021. However, signaling that the U.S. middle class is decreasing at an alarming rate. 30. In 2021, China produced 16% of the items that were consumed globally. The United States only created 13%. We have been rapidly exporting high-tech employment abroad. As a result, we are losing more firms, jobs, and national income to China each year. Over the past 50 years, there has been a significant gap between corporate profits and worker wages in America. Big U.S. firms may be reporting record profits, but that does not guarantee that they will offer workers good jobs. Since China joined the WTO, it has become far too simple for large firms to move jobs from the US to China, where it is legal to pay employees extremely cheap salaries. At the same time, as the number of manufacturing jobs in the US drops, the middle class also does. As a result, more Americans are now dependent on the government, and unless systemic reforms are made, the US will continue to struggle with the structural underemployment and unemployment issues for many years to come. To make matters worse, a growing body of evidence points to the US economy entering a new recession, which might give China the power it needs to eventually dethrone the US on the world economic arena. In other words, China is outpacing us, and we need to start improving immediately if we want to maintain our position as the world's richest nation.